Alright class, we're here today to talk about the endocrine system, and so we're going to go into that here, and I don't know why I'm losing my head guy over here. There we go. Alright, so we're going to talk about the endocrine system, and nervous system controls fast response in the body. But unfortunately, when I say it's fast, it's just that. It hits, it goes, and it's done. But there needs to be a more slower, controlled, over time process. And that's what our endocrine system does, okay? And so we're going to explain what it does, the difference between the exocrine gland and endocrine gland, and talk about the different hormones that are involved in prostaglandins, we'll talk about those, and the relevance of what they all do. And then how proteins and steroid hormones believed to exert their effects, which again is very important because we use a lot of steroids, and medicines are actually sometimes a hormonal replacement therapy. So again, it's a way to treat our patients. So understanding all of these is very, very, very important. And we're going to talk about the ones that are controlled in the brain. We'll do that in the first video. And we got 2 videos on this, so everybody hold on, okay? And so to start it out with is it works along with the nervous system. The nervous system kind of activates it, but it's used to maintain homeostasis, okay? And just remember, fast is going to be your nervous system. The more slower, steady control is going to be your endocrine system, okay? And the glands, they secrete hormones into the system, and it diffuses into the interstitial fluids and then into the bloodstream, and then it goes and it acts on target cells. Okay, there are pancreas secretions, so the pancreas is both an endocrine and an exocrine gland. And again, you got autocrine secretions, which again have to do with your white blood cells and your immune response. And then again, you've got also exocrine glands, of being your sweat glands, your tear ducts. They also fall into this category as well. So again, it's a complex message and control system. And again, it usually works off of feedback sensory organs, or a response to other hormones initiating an activation. And that's where a lot of your pituitary and your master control, the brain hormones release, which activates these other glands, tells them to do a slower, more regulated control of the body. Now, again, most of our endocrine organs, male, female, are the same, except when we get to the gonads, and we'll talk about those in just a little bit. But again, most everybody's got everything in the brain: the pituitary, the pineal gland, the hypothalamus. You got your thyroids, parathyroids, okay? Your thyroid, and the reason we worry about the thyroid so much is that one does metabolism, and your parathyroids are right on the ends of those that do calcium. Obviously your adrenal glands is having to do with your fight or flight. And also, by the way, some of your organs themselves actually secrete hormones as well. As a matter of fact, some of our biomarkers that we can tell for people having a heart attack are actually a hormonal response that we're measuring. Now, your endocrine system, okay, so they produce one or more hormones. That's pituitary, thyroid, reproductive. They do more than one. And then the prostaglandins. These are like hormone-like fatty acids that are produced in the body tissue, such as the uterus, in the brain, and the kidneys. So it's kind of it's a mimic of an endocrine, but it helps with the control functions. Okay. Now, again, hormones that they bind to receptors. They open things up, and a good example of that one would be insulin. Insulin helps carry the glucose, it attaches to the glucose molecule, helps diffuse it across the cell membrane, and so it carries out the next task, whatever the process involved. That's how it works. Again, so it attaches, again, brings whatever needs to be brought into the cell, which of course will change the cell's function in certain cases. So they interact with each other, by the way, in either a positive feedback or a negative feedback, in a feedback loop, in order to maintain the homeostasis. So when my blood sugar is too high, it knows to, normal people, it knows to secrete more insulin. And that lowers the blood sugar level, or starts to convert it into a storage mechanism, fats. Or the flip of that, my sugar goes too low, it knows to start burning up some of that fat, starts releasing glucagon into my system. Glucagon starts breaking everything down. So these are the effects of those feedback loops in order to maintain and control everything. Now your pituitary gland, this is your master gland. I would probably know about the pituitary gland. Again, they secrete hormones that controls all the other glands' functions. Again, it gets feedback from the nervous system saying, hey, we got to do this, and then they release the hormones into the bloodstream that start a slower control of whatever that is. And it's at the base of the brain, by the way, in the hypothalamus, which, by the way, if you remember, your medulla oblongata is basically around the same area. So this is where all of your feedback sensors are basically located, and those ganglia, they know hey, we need to give feedback. We need to let the body know, and then we need to reduce this so that we can control our systems and maintain our homeostasis. So again, the hypothalamus is it's at the very base of the diencephalon, and it regulates the function of the pituitary gland. So this is kind of like the master of the master, if you will. This is the head office here. So again, there's a small system in between this that allows it. And what I really want you to know is that yes, the hypothalamus, it lets the pituitary know, hey, we need to secrete a different hormone in order to control one or two of the other glands in order to do that. The infundibulum, again, it's a stalk that connects the pituitary gland to the hypothalamus. There's an anterior and then there's a posterior, and they call it the pituitary lobes. Again, basically, I just want you to know the names here, not necessarily the functionality of them. But there are different parts of the pituitary that control different things. So the neurohypothesis, again, the neurohormones, it's the base of it, at the base of the pituitary gland. Actually, again, it helps control the extension of the central nervous system. So that's where basically all the feedback loop is coming into it. Now, again, the other thing it does is it secretes oxytocin, and yes, oxytocin is very small amounts are available in males, but most part, again, it's the antidiuretic hormone. So when we realize that there's not enough water in our system, again, the antidiuretic hormone starts to release, tells our kidneys, hey, quit peeing, quit taking fluid in, so that you can get at, you're trying to eliminate too much fluid. We want to hold on to that fluid. And again, so we really do like that, obviously. That helps us maintain our water balance. In the front, and again, it's basically your growth hormone. Matter of fact, I'll give you the example. Andre the Giant, Paul White, both had small tumors on this anterior pituitary lobe, which caused an increased amount of growth hormone to be launched into their system. Again, it got to the point where it actually killed Andre. But again, the giantism is caused by continuing to grow. They're not stopping. The disease of acromegaly is also caused by a similar process of that. So it increases the protein synthesis and uses fats for energy. And then again, and that's basically the front part of it is responsible again for our growth system. Okay. So by the way, it can also release the hormone, by the way, that will stop it from your stopping growth as well. So the thyroid-stimulating hormone is also produced in the brain there, and again, TSH is so important because when we talk about thyroid function, this is what actually tells the thyroid to work better or not work as much. When we're dealing with patients that don't have a thyroid or have a thyroid problem, this is the hormone that I really want to say, hey, what was your last TSH count? If they know it. And if they're on thyroid medicine, by the way, they should know roughly what they're on, okay? Because again, the problem with this is if you got too much or too little. Too little, you're going to be really tired. Too much of it, obviously, you're going to be bouncing off the walls. And again, it can cause additional problems with that. Adrenocorticotropic hormone. Yeah, that one there is a 50-point Scrabble word. And again, It's several molecules derived from the precursor, but what this does is it controls the adrenal cortex. It's the one that actually sends for the epinephrine rush. When you get scared, if you've ever noticed that it takes probably about a split second to actually activate your adrenaline fight or flight, well, it has to do with that particular hormone getting down there. That's where you feel that tingly response that goes everywhere. Your corticosteroids, there's several of them that are secreted by the adrenal gland. It's controlled again in that front pituitary lobe, and again your beta-endorphins. Again, so they have the same effect as morphine, or it's derived from the prooptium melanocortin. Boy, that's a big word, isn't it? But what I want you to know about that is that yes, these secretions, when they say that you can get a sensation that makes you feel good, this is actually where it comes from. Again, by the way, the anterior pituitary also controls your luteinizing hormone and your follicle-stimulating hormone. For you ladies, that means that's going to tell it when to do the egg cycles, when to get ready and get prepared, and it's got a little bit to do with, okay, the baby's not coming, so we go ahead and shed the lining. Okay, and by the way, it also, if you are pregnant, then it's going to know, hey, I need to start the hyperplasia effect on the breast in order to get ready for starting to feed the child. We're going to hold up here. We're going to start on this one on the next one. So I will see you guys on the next video.